China's largest financial hub, Shanghai, is entering its third week of an extremely tight COVID lockdown. The country continues to follow its zero-tolerance policy for stopping the spread of the virus, literally keeping people inside their homes. And that is leading to major economic slowdowns without workers. A new report says with nearly 400 million people in China under mandatory COVID lockdowns, that's about 40% of the world's second largest economy, it's at a standstill, and that spells a looming supply chain crisis on the horizon. I'm going in depth tonight with Rosemary, executive director of the Reshoring Institute. That's a nonprofit, nonpartisan group dedicated to helping U.S. companies expand manufacturing. Rosemary, thank you for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, with such a large portion of the Chinese workforce unable to leave their homes, paint us a picture of what this means within China, from port closures to manufacturing coming to a grinding halt.
Well, Shanghai is the largest city in the world. 25 million people live in the area, in the region of Shanghai and Pudong, where there is massive industrial production, as well as the largest ports in the world of Shanghai and Ningbo. And essentially all of the citizenry is locked down, and all of the manufacturing sites are closed. The ports are closed. I mean, it's just horrendous, and is going to cause a huge ripple effect around the world with respect to supply chains.
Yeah, China is the world's second largest economy behind the United States. So much of the world relies on their exports. But with the flow of goods coming to a trickle, what could this mean for the world as a whole? We are just coming out of that supply chain backlog, and now where are we, or where could we be?
Yeah, well, we still have a backlog. There's still backups in the ports, the West Coast ports, for incoming goods from mostly from China, but across Asia. And that isn't going to go away anytime soon. Once this lockdown in Shanghai is lifted, we're going to see a whole another wave of incoming products that are going to be backed up in our ports. You know, Shanghai has the largest, busiest ports. They're modern, they're huge, and the U.S. doesn't have anything by comparison. I mean, our ports are relatively small and unsophisticated by comparison. So it becomes a pinch point for us, not only at the ports, but also because there aren't enough truckers to pull containers out of the ports. There aren't enough warehouses to receive the goods. I mean, there's all kinds of issues there for sure. And then all of that is complicated by the war in Ukraine, where there are a lot of raw materials that are sourced from Ukraine. For example, neon that's used to manufacture semiconductors, aluminum, a lot of raw materials that are shipped to China normally for production in China, and then those goods are ultimately made into consumer products and then shipped to the U.S. So we've got this enormous backlash and a whipsaw effect, and now shortages coming from Ukraine. And man, our supply chains are going to be in chaos for a while.
Yeah, when will we really start to see this as consumers? Please don't tell us there's going to be a run on toilet paper and, the like that we saw in 2020. And then we have vehicles, we have electronics. It's hard to fathom what's all on those containers on these ships.
Yeah, and so they're full of consumer goods for sure, and toilet paper for sure. There's a lot of toilet paper coming from China, but also industrial products, things that are used in production. So, for example, automotive suppliers around the world are really struggling trying to get parts out of China. When Wuhan shut down at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, Wuhan was is the sort of Detroit of China, so where a lot of automotive auto parts are coming. And that caused almost immediate shutdowns of manufacturing plants of automobiles around the world. And Shanghai also produces quite a bit of automotive goods. So things like automotive as well as other industrial parts we're going to experience shortages, and probably starting within the next couple of weeks.
2 weeks, all right. And any sign that China is going to back off of these strict lockdowns when, they know that this is going to hurt them economically?
Yeah, it is, but the government policy in China is zero tolerance. So even though they know it's going to hurt them, they won't tolerate this continuous spread of COVID. So, and also, it's my understanding that the vaccines in China are not as effective as, say, Moderna or Johnson & Johnson or Pfizer here in the U.S. So with, a limited effectiveness of the vaccine and then a spread like this in these jam-packed cities, it just doesn't sound like it's going to be solved anytime soon.
Okay, well, that is a sobering note, but we really appreciate you warning us about what is coming, the ups and downs of this pandemic. Rosemary Coates, Executive Director of Reshoring Institute, thank you so much for your insights.